everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, or the TIE Fighter Chick. Today is another installment of Sizzling Sundays. It's been a while since I put one of these out, and I found a super quick and easy recipe that I thought would be really fun to share, especially since spring is kind of on its way in. Today's recipe comes from the Disney Princess Cookbook, this one here. And it's geared more towards kids that are wanting to learn to cook, but I like some of the recipes in here, so it's what we're going to use. Now let's see if I can remember where exactly my recipe is in here. I was gonna say I picked this out a couple days ago and forgot to mark down where I wanted, or what the recipe was listed under. So we're gonna do a quick flip through here. So this one has all sorts of stuff like apple dumplings, it's got magic wands, fudge, there's all sorts of things, different drinks, there's a seafoam smoothie. Like I said, there's all sorts of stuff in this book. It's really fun. It's a great way to get kids into the kitchen and cooking. And I just found my recipe. All right. There we go. So today's video is going to feature this recipe, and it shows the three little brothers from Brave, which I think is super cute. But this one is it calls for half a cantaloupe, half a honeydew melon, and half of a small seedless watermelon. So super quick and simple. I'm going to elevate it a little bit today by adding in some basil honey. It goes really well with fruit, don't trust me. They also call for a melon baller to do the little tiny round pieces, but I don't have a melon baller and I really didn't feel like spending 10 bucks to get one because I'm not really going to use it that often. So we are just going to cut everything into small bite-sized chunks and go from there. But super, super easy, really fun. And for our honey, forgot to get out a measuring cup, so I'm going to start the honey off first because it's going to take a little while. And the recipe calls for a cup of honey and about 10 crushed leaves of basil, fresh basil. And for this, you definitely don't want the dried stuff. So I've got my measuring cup out here, and I'm just taking and pouring in some honey. It's probably going to take a little while to fill this thing up. I think I'm just going to unscrew the lid. Make my life easier. All right, that's much better. So it's just a cup of honey, which I'm hoping I've got enough in here. We don't use honey super, super often, so it should be all right. There we go. I'm gonna stop it a little bit before the absolute full mark, just to make sure that we don't overfill the cup. So I'm just pouring that into a small little saucepan that I have. This is going to go on the stove at very low heat because you don't want to burn the honey, you just want to get it to kind of a liquid stage, because then you'll be able to put it all over the fruit and it'll coat everything evenly. All right, let me see here. I got a spatula. Oops. That'll work small enough. Accidentally dripped some honey down the side. There we go. So I'm just gonna scrape the honey out so I can try to get at least most of it out of the jar. There we go. If you want it to come out a little bit easier, I think if you follow Alton Brown's trick of spraying the cup with some like baking spray, Pam, that sort of thing, then it comes off a lot easier. But I'm not too worried about it. Okay, so this is again going to go on the stove on low heat. Let's see here. And since that's such a small pot, I'm just going to use one of the back burners. Try to get all the honey off my hands here. But again, that's just going to go nice and low and slow. And you want it to get to the warmed up stage, or at least warmed up a little bit before you add in your basil. So I've got basil here. This is one of those little fresh packets that you buy like at the grocery store. There's definitely more than 10 leaves here, but that should be fine. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll do this last big one, 10. So as you can see, there's a little tiny bit left over. If we were doing like some Italian food of some sort, I would hang on to those and use them, but we are not making anything in regards to that tonight. And these you're just gonna want to slightly bruise to allow the oils to start coming to the surface. So what I'm gonna do, I've got them on my cutting board, I'm just going to kind of roll my hands over them just to get them kind of bruised here. So pretty easy. They should start looking kind of like this on the back. Let's see if the camera will focus there. So you're just kind of bruising those leaves a little bit. There we go. Let's see here. You know what? I think I'm just gonna drop these leaves right into the honey and just let them sit. And my hands are gonna smell lovely and like basil for the rest of the day. All right, the other things I have beside this cutting board, I've got a large knife and I've got a set of bowls to put the fruit into. So I'm gonna kind of turn y'all downwards a little bit. Let's see here. My, let's see, my filming tripod is wanting to fall over, so we're gonna anchor it here with a little bit of the fruit. See if I can get everything to stay put. Ah, there we go. That'll work. All right, finally got it stabilized. So there's lots of different ways to cut a honeydew melon. Take off that sticker. This one smells really good. It's got a little bit of veining on the outside, which usually I believe indicates that they're fairly sweet. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take and chop off this end so it'll stand upright, and then I'm gonna take and kind of run the knife this way around it. I think that's gonna be the easiest way to cut it. So there's that, there's one piece. The other fruit I did buy cut just because I'm a lazy bones and I don't feel like dealing with it. So we're just gonna kind of slice around it. You are gonna lose a little bit of the flesh of the melon, but again, I'm not terribly worried about it. This is a big melon, a big honeydew, so I probably will not be able to eat it all as is. My partner does not like melons. They were helping pick a patch of melon when they were like a teenager, and he along with the other guys kind of gorged themselves on melon, and since then have not really been interested in eating any, so no worries. I was gonna say I have plenty of coworkers that would love to have some honeydew, so I'll be taking whatever's left over from this recipe and taking it to work with me. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of trying to get all of the white part of the rind off. I think we did pretty well. This honeydew's a little slippery. And then I'm just gonna cut that very top portion off. There's still a little bit of, ready to dump stuff on the floor. A little bit here, so I'm just gonna very carefully use my knife to get rid of it. And there you have it. Pretty easy way to cut a honeydew without having to do a whole bunch of work on it. And try to, I've tried slicing it. Oops, I think I did drop some on the floor. I've tried slicing it like in half and doing everything that way, and it just doesn't seem to work as well. I always feel like I'm gonna cut my fingers. But I think this will work just fine. Make sure I kind of got everything here. Yeah, we got a little more over here. Let's see. It's got kind of these like veins to it. There we go. And yes, I will be cleaning up the mess on the counter in a minute. We're gonna cut this baby in half. I do need to scoop out the seeds, so I'm gonna just use one of the little bowls, and then I can rinse everything out later on, because I'm gonna dump all this stuff into the trash. Clean as you go, people. Makes life a lot easier on you when you're trying to cook things. Okay, there we go. All right. For scooping out seeds, I typically just use a big spoon. I did drop one on the floor, I just stepped on it. I usually use just a big spoon, and you just take, and you just want all of this stuff inside to come out, because eating these seeds is not very tasty. Let's see. Now if you do carve up a watermelon, you can take those seeds and roast them in the oven, and that turns out really good. Whew. This is the worst part about trying to clean out melons, is the inside goop. There we go. One down, one to go. I was gonna say this watermelon. This honeydew, it looks like it's almost too ripe, but that's all right. I was gonna say I'm a pretty big fan of honeydew myself. It would be my favorite out of the three here that we've got: the cantaloupe, watermelon, and honeydew. Make sure I got everything. There we go, so that looks pretty good. So now I'm just going to take this, get the rest of the little seeds off of my cutting board. There we go. Flip this over, and we're just going to cut slices. So, now always make sure you're watching your fingers. I'm really bad about that when I'm cutting things. Thankfully I've never cut myself yet, but knife skills are definitely not my strong suit when it comes to the kitchen. Alright, we can kind of spin those around. Now you do want these chunks fairly small if you're not going to use like a melon baller, just because you want to make sure that you're not, you know, overwhelming your mouth with gigantic pieces. So as you can see, these are still pretty large, but they're bite size as well. So getting down to the part that's kind of hollowed there makes life a little more difficult. There we go. So now everything is cubed up. I'm going to use, for right now, my medium dish to scoop all of the pieces into, just so I can cut the other half. Just sneak a piece too. Like I said, honeydew is my absolute favorite. It is so good. All right, let's do number 2. There we go. All right. So far our honey's looking pretty good. It's loosening up a little bit. I can definitely smell the basil. All right. What's everybody been up to? When I'm filming this, it's the Monday after Super Bowl. I was very upset at that game, by the way. I may be a Broncos fan, but I was rooting for the Chiefs. You know, stick with your division. Kind of got to. There we go. but I felt like everything was kind of lopsided when it came to calling things for the penalties. I wish they had done a little bit better with that. It felt kind of impartial, or not impartial. It felt like the refs were not impartial like they should be. But alas, you know, there's always next year. But any Disney related news that I have not heard of yet? I saw Disney Food Blog had posted up about seeing the new, some of the new renovations they've done to the French Pavilion. Let's see if I can get this all resituated here. Some of the stuff they've done to the new French Pavilion. I'm really excited to see what that Ratatouille ride is going to look like. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, seeing that arrive. I think they're redoing one of the restaurants there as well, the crepe restaurant. I think they're redoing that one with a to-go window as well as like indoor seating. It's very interesting. There's been a lot of changes recently within Disney, the parks and everything, just due to everything that's going on in the world at the moment. I hope things are going to start getting back to normal, since we've got a better plan in place, I think, for the vaccines, but that's just my opinion. There we go. So some of these chunks end up kind of large, so I'm just cutting them in half. There we go. I missed a couple here. There we are. Get rid of that piece because it felt kind of mushy. But these aren't cut all the way through. There we go. Whoops. I am just making a mess today. I've dropped a couple pieces of honeydew on the floor just now, but that's all right. I've got more than enough there for what I need, so I'm just gonna rinse the cutting board off a little. And we're gonna pick up the honeydew off the floor. So, there we go. Honeydew is off the floor now. Okay. So the watermelon and the cantaloupe I picked up pre-packaged from Publix just to make my life easier. I think I'm gonna get my big bowl out actually, so that I can actually mix fruit up in it and kind of see how that works. So I'm gonna put like half of my honeydew. Just got all kinds of bowls out here today. And we're gonna set the rest of the honeydew there so I've got some room. And we will cut open our cantaloupe. I'm gonna twist everybody back up so you don't have to sit there and stare at watermelon and cutting things. But yeah, I'm super excited to see how things are gonna go this year. You know, I know video-wise I haven't been posting a whole bunch. The job I work at a vet's clinic is very high stress. We have 6 doctors for one practice, so if you know anything about medicine, you know we're crazy busy, just based on that number alone. But we are super busy all the time. The area we're in is actually a military town, so we get a lot of military folks in and out. So we've got a lot of different people that come in for vet care. And, you know, it's just busy. So by the time I get home, I am usually a little bit too emotionally drained to be able to film anything. Plus I work, you know, long hours. I'm, you know, rotating shifts. I'm off every other weekend, that sort of thing. So it gets a little nutty. It gets a little nutty, but such is the life. It pays well, has good benefits, so I can't complain too much. But Yeah, this is the one reason I don't like cutting with the rind on, because I miss parts. I always feel like I'm gonna nip my fingers. But yeah, what kind of job does everybody else do? I know there's a variety of jobs out there. I know some people are working on finding a different job during the current conditions. How's all that going? Did you survive the pandemic with your current job? Are you changing over to doing something else? I know going into vet care was a major change for me, considering that I was in historical interpretation prior to that. Totally different field of study. So that was interesting, making that switch. Let me tell you, if you see people having a hard time with a scheduling system or a point of sale system, like at a restaurant, give them a little leeway. There's a huge learning curve to all of that, and the person may be new and they may not know that system very well, so give them a little bit of patience. That, you know, scheduling system that we work with is not exactly the easiest thing, and it can be a big learning curve, especially for someone who doesn't have any sort of veterinary background like myself. So give people a little patience. Let's see here. So far it looks like I'm going to use the entire half a cantaloupe. There we go. Which I am perfectly okay with. These chunks are a little bit bigger than the honeydew, but that's alright. Check on our honey real quick. My cat's playing in the curtains over in our breakfast nook. I think he sees some birds outside. We haven't had our bird feeder up in a little while just due to the squirrels. Due to the squirrels finding our feeder and taking it over, we had to stop that because none of the birds could eat anything. It was just the squirrels that were getting fed, so we stopped putting that up. Tux, my cat, the one that you probably saw scramble through the back here, he loves the birds. He's an absolute nut, but he would love watching the birds. We had it on a window near where a bed is, and he would just lay all day on the bed and just watch the birds and make little chattering noises at him. I think today he's found, hi babies, today I think he's found the catnip mouse that I left out for him, if he's acting as crazy and nutty as he is, which it's not anything new. He's a nutcase, but he's extra nutty on catnip. Speaking of catnip, if y'all are in the market for some catnip, I highly suggest the Meow-Awana, yes, Meow-Awana brand, because Tux never liked catnip before trying that, and he absolutely goes insane. The one I got was a combination of catnip and silvervine, and he adores it. I took a Tupperware container and placed all of his toys in it with some of that catnip and shook it up and let them kind of marinate in it for a few days, and then I take him out, kind of rotate through his toys, so he has new ones, and he loses his mind over the Meow-Awana laced catnip toys. It's quite entertaining to see him go absolutely bonkers. Alright, so this watermelon does look a little funky. I know right now we are not in the season for watermelons, so that's probably part of it. Let's see if I can get this baby out. I may just have to cut in to everything. Okay. This is going to be the tricky one out of everything, I think. Because it's such a funny angle. Let's see here. to do for the moment. I was hoping to get it out without having to cut all the way through. I know this little piece popped out. Oop. Cut some of that off. I don't like the white part of the watermelon. I think it's gross. I know some people enjoy it, but I'm not one of those people. Let's see if I can now. Well, there's one. Kind of having to go, I had to cut like individually, and now I'm kind of going underneath them and trying to pop them up if I can. There we go. Maybe I can just do that. Oh, no. I have to kind of actually cut underneath them and then pop them out. This probably actually would have been easier with a full watermelon, now that I'm thinking about it. Just because then you've got a little more control over the slicing. But this will work for what we need. What Disney movies has everybody seen recently? I know one of the last days I was off, I ended up watching, oh gosh, what did I watch? 101 Dalmatians, Robin Hood. I feel like there was one more now that I can't think of. Well, I can't remember. That's all right. But I know a lot of people kind of go through and rewatch Disney movies on occasion. Okay, bud. This one is just being darn stubborn and not wanting to pop out. There we go. Tux is down here trying to see if he'll get some. Sorry, kiddo. You can't have any melon. He thinks anytime we're in the kitchen we're gonna feed him. Not the case. Anyways, so I'd rewatched some of those. I miss those like classic Disney movies. They bring back so much nostalgia. I remember at my grandma's house that there was, oh gosh, let's see here. There was Rescuers Down Under, there was Aristocats, 101 Dalmatians, The Great Mouse Detective, and Robin Hood as the Disney movies that we had available to watch. And I watched Robin Hood and the 101 Dalmatians so much that I can basically quote them word for word. But well, this is not the greatest watermelon in the world. Like I said, we are out of season, but that's all right. But yeah, anyways, so I would watch those all the time. Sometimes my cousins would watch them with me, but they didn't live close by. They lived a few hours from us, so we didn't really see them that often. But I love classic Disney movies. There's some great storytelling in those. But what's your favorite classic Disney movie? Do you have one that's a favorite? Do you have one that you watch all the time? That you can quote word for word like I can? You know, I think that's some of the most fun pieces of recapturing, you know, childhood, is having those movies that you can watch over and over and over again and never get tired of them, and you always want to watch them no matter what. Yeah, those are always such good pieces of childhood that I rather enjoy. I'm a big kid at heart, what can I say? Okay, well, our fruit bowl is looking pretty full, which is good, because I'm down to the last few pieces of watermelon here. Yeah, what movies do you love to see over and over again? It doesn't have to be a Disney movie. I know we usually watch the Harry Potter movies like right around Christmas. That's one of our favorites to watch at that point of the year, just because it's kind of iconic, and it feels like all the Harry Potter movies are set, you know, during holidays, during Christmas. But we rather enjoy those as well as the others. Non-Disney stuff. Let's see, all right. So that is it for the watermelon. My entire workbench over here is ever so slightly sticky. But that's all right. Looks like our honey's doing pretty well. Kind of wipe things down here a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I think I'm gonna grab a spoon here. Wouldn't all have to do for now. We'll just stir this all up. So I want it to be relatively mixed before I add the honey in. Also gives me a chance to break up any pieces that are still clumped together. There we go. Okay. Oh, looks pretty good. Pretty good colors to it, which is nice. So there you go. That's what it looks like right now. Our honey seems to be doing pretty well. It is getting pretty viscous, so I'm probably going to turn the heat down a little on that, and we're just going to let it sit for a few minutes. But there you have it. That's a pretty easy recipe. The biggest thing is, you know, cutting everything apart into pieces. Let's take a look at our recipe again. So there's our recipe again. It's called, can't read backwards, Triple-licious fruit salad. Here's the picture for it, and there's the recipe. But this book is super cute. I really love it. There's all sorts of stuff, sides and dinners and lunches. Lots of fun things. And it's pretty easy to make recipes. There's nothing super, super complicated in here. You could always substitute things out, like this monkey bread is made from scratch, which would be amazing. But if you don't have access to that, you don't want to take the time, you could always use something like canned biscuits. You know, things like that. There's all sorts of things in here that are delicious. Super cute too. Might be worth grabbing if you have kids that are interested in Disney as well as cooking. I found that one on Amazon. I think it was 12 bucks, something like that. It wasn't super, super expensive. All right, so I'm going to dip a spoon down into the honey and taste it and see if it tastes like basil. Not yet. Still tastes just like honey. So I kind of dunk the leaves down in here. There we go. So basil honey is actually something I discovered through the previous job that I worked. Oh look, there's Tuxie. Yeah, what you doing, buddy? It's something I discovered through work when I was working at the historic site that I used to work at. They did something similar. They did like a fruit salad, but it had the basil honey on it. And I thought that that would be a great addition to this recipe because plain fruit salad like this is kind of unimaginative in my opinion. It's good, don't get me wrong. This would be perfect for like an outdoor picnic, especially on a hot summer day. Melon is really hydrating. But I just wanted something a little different, a little more. So I decided to add the basil honey. Figured what can it hurt? So we'll see. I'm gonna put y'all on pause and then let the honey do its thing, and I will come back once I've done that and we'll get it all mixed up. Okay folks, I've got the honey here. It is finally done cooling. I kind of figured out the trick to it too. I've never made this before. And what you have to do is actually stir the honey with the basil leaves in it. Otherwise, they don't impart the flavor of the basil to the honey. Excuse me. But what I'm doing right now is I'm just pulling them out, letting some of the honey drain off, and then I'm setting them in my trash bowl. That way I can throw them away later. But this is really good honey. It tastes nice and sweet. It doesn't taste overbearingly of the basil. There we go. Got a whole bunch of honey on my spoon. Don't want to waste that. But I think it turned out really good. I definitely know that I will be making this again. This would be good for a savory dish as well. Just because, you know, basil is a savory flavor. There's lots of things you can do with honey. You can add chili to it. You can add different herbs and spices like sage. There is tons of stuff you can do with honey. It is not just a sweet item, though that is what it is normally used for. So right now I'm just scooping out all the basil leaves, letting them drain off, and then I'm going to pour it into the bowl with the fruit that we cut up and then mix it all around. I do have a rubber spatula for that. This one happens to be my favorite. If you can read it, it says Empire on it. And it's got the Star Wars Empire logo. One of my favorites. Unfortunately, I did break off the tip of it a while back. I need to find out where I can get another one, but haven't really put time or thought into actually digging around for that. I'm too lazy. But there we go. This has sat about 15-20 minutes to let it cool down, just because it was really hot. It is still very liquidy and kind of viscous. You know, you can see it kind of moving around. But I'm just gonna take and pour this all right onto our fruit. Since we've got so much fruit, I don't feel bad about using an entire cup of honey. There we go. And we're just gonna use this and scoop it all up. This is gonna be tasty, tasty, tasty. I'm super excited. I love fruit with honey on it. I think it is delicious. All right. I'm gonna clean off the spoon I used for the honey here. Absolutely perfect. So good. It lends that sweetness from the honey. It has that basil to it, so it's a little bit savory at the same time. But there you have it. That's our fruit salad. Pretty easy, pretty quick and simple as well. Something that kids can definitely get in on. You could adjust the recipe as you needed for serving sizes, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's it for today, folks. I hope you have an absolutely magical day. A very happy Valentine's Day, since this video is being posted on Valentine's Day. I hope it meets all of your expectations of what you would like, and we'll see you next time.